My hands tremble beyond control as medical staff hurry my infant son away from me. His entire frame would barely fill my cupped hands, 1 pound, 10 ounces of delicate existence. Delivered at 25 weeks and 1 day. Far too premature. Mrs. Whitlow, we're transporting him to the neonatal intensive care unit, a figure in surgical scrubs informs me, already heading toward the exit. Your baby requires emergency breathing assistance. My child, Micah, a name we had chosen just 7 days prior, never anticipating he would need it this soon. Terror overwhelms me, yet I must find strength within myself. Am I capable? The question lodges in my throat. Dizziness clouds my vision as I attempt to raise my head from the hospital pillow. Will I be able to see him? But the medical team has already departed, taking with them the child I had nurtured for merely 6 months. Grant grips my hand with painful intensity, his complexion ashen beneath his natural bronze tone. He's going to survive, he murmurs, though I detect uncertainty beneath his words. My son entered this world battling for survival, and I would soon learn this was only the beginning of his struggles. The following morning, a hospital attendant guides my wheelchair through the antiseptic hallways of Santa Clara Medical Center. This Denver facility would become our unexpected residence, replacing the carefully prepared nursery awaiting us at home. Upon reaching the NICU, I can barely identify the small form behind the transparent barrier. Micah rests nearly concealed beneath a complex network of tubes, cables, and monitoring equipment. His flesh looks nearly transparent, his chest moving up and down in quick, shallow motions that appear more artificial than organic. His miniature limbs, no wider than my thumb, are secured to prevent disturbing the forelines. He's magnificent, Grant whispers beside me, his voice cracking with emotion. I can only acknowledge with a nod, fearful that speaking might break whatever delicate force keeps our son alive. May I touch him? I inquire of the attending nurse. Not at this moment, she responds kindly, but hopefully very soon. That word, hope, floats between us like a fragile thread connecting us to possibility. Grant accepts additional work shifts beyond what seems humanly manageable, overnight hours, weekends, holidays, anything to preserve our primary health insurance benefits. We had taken such pride in our nest egg, $34,000 carefully saved for a down payment on a larger home after our baby's arrival. Now those funds disappear like moisture absorbed by sand. The emergency cesarean section alone destroys our financial safety net, and each NICU day creates another overwhelming expense. We'll find a solution, Grant maintains whenever I voice my concerns. Micah is our priority now. I agree, hoping to comfort both of us. I create a schedule that becomes my lifeline, rise at the Aurora family house at 5:30 a.m., shower rapidly, and reach Micah's incubator by 6:15. I remain at his side for 14 hours daily, speaking softly, occasionally humming lullabies, constantly apologizing that my body failed to protect him longer. You're handling everything perfectly, Nurse Jolene assures me on the 62nd day. She works the night shift but often extends her hours into morning for one final check on Micah. Most families cannot maintain this level of consistency. I don't know any other way to help, I confess. Well, I have encouraging news, she says, glancing at Micah's monitoring displays. His oxygen levels have remained steady for 3 straight days. That represents meaningful improvement. Truly, I study the digital readouts, attempting to understand their significance. Absolutely, she confirms. Dr. Peterson believes you might be able to hold him tomorrow, skin-to-skin contact. The concept barely registers initially. Hold him, after 64 days of observing him through plastic barriers. Are you certain?
My voice sounds foreign to me.
As certain as we can be in the NICU, Jolene replies. It's a positive development, Lena. The next day, they assist in positioning Micah against my chest. He weighs almost nothing, yet the warmth of his tiny form penetrates mine. His heart pounds rapidly against my skin, a hummingbird's rhythm that gradually stabilizes as we breathe in unison. Grant observes from the doorway, tears in his eyes. Look at that, he whispers. He recognizes you. For the first time since Micah's birth, I experience an unfamiliar sensation growing within me. Hope. This feeling endures exactly 3 hours, until my phone rings with my mother's distinctive tone. I haven't communicated with my parents since they condemned my decision to marry young at my own wedding ceremony. But now Pamela Whitlow's voice emerges from the speaker, cheerful as though no time has elapsed. "Lena, sweetheart, your father and I are traveling through Denver next week and just learned about the baby. We're planning an unexpected visit to meet our grandson." I gaze at Micah, at the fragile progress he's achieved after 64 days of struggle, at the machine still assisting his breathing, at the monitors tracking each heartbeat. "Mom," I begin, uncertain how to explain that this environment has no room for surprises, particularly from people who had declared my marriage a failure from its inception. I look down at my son, who has already endured so much, who needs protection more than I need parental approval. "We need to discuss visiting procedures," I state firmly, my hands finally steady. "I will not permit anyone to harm my baby, not even family." 24 hours later, the automatic entrance doors of Santa Clara Medical Center part, admitting a burst of autumn air and 3 uninvited guests. My parents march through the hospital foyer as if they possess it, their expensive footwear echoing against the polished flooring. My father, Wesley, stands imposing in his charcoal business suit. My mother, Pamela, accompanies him wearing a beige outfit that likely exceeds our monthly house payment. Behind them follows my brother Trent, absorbed in his smartphone, fingers dancing across the screen. "There's our daughter," Mother announces, delivering an air kiss near my face. Her fragrance overwhelms with jasmine and entitlement. Trent eventually looks up. "So, where's the baby?" His gaze returns immediately to his device, barely acknowledging the miracle fighting for survival nearby. "He's in the NICU," I explain, my voice weaker than intended. "We must register at the reception desk first. There are established procedures." "Procedures?" Father dismisses, already striding toward the unit. "We're only stopping briefly before Trent's job interview. Don't create drama about regulations." Nurse Jolene meets us at the NICU entrance, her typically gentle expression now stern. "Welcome to our unit. Before entry, everyone must scrub hands thoroughly for 2 complete minutes, remove all watches and jewelry, and please silence mobile devices." Father brushes past her. "I've served on hospital boards for 3 decades. I understand how these facilities function." The NICU room feels impossibly cramped with my family present. Warning notices cover nearly every surface. Critical equipment, oxygen in use. Do not touch medical devices. Micah rests in his incubator, each tiny breath a triumph. Grant positions himself by the entrance, jaw muscles tense. Father circles the room's perimeter, examining equipment as though conducting an inspection. I retreat to the corner, my body automatically minimizing itself. The power structure from my childhood resurfaces, Father commanding territory, me yielding it, a lifelong pattern that suddenly overwhelms me. "Your firm scheduled this interview months ago," Trent informs Father, checking his watch. "Roberts and Blackwell is elite tier. If I secure this position, my future is guaranteed." Father nods with approval, then suddenly crouches down, examining a wall socket, a bright red emergency outlet clearly labeled, "Critical life support, do not unplug monitored." "This one's available," Father states casually, disconnecting a cord before I can cry out. Trent kneels beside him, phone charger ready. "Need to review my interview materials," he mutters, connecting his iPhone. The monitors explode in a cacophony of alerts. Numbers flash crimson on Micah's display, oxygen saturation dropping from 94% to 86%, then 82%, then 79%. Each declining digit pierces my chest. "What's wrong?" I scream, rushing toward the incubator. Helplessness consumes me as I watch my son struggle for breath. Micah's tiny chest labors harder, fighting for air that isn't reaching him. His skin, previously rosy, develops a bluish cast around his lips and fingertips. Nurse Jolene bursts through the door, with Dr. Elsa Walker immediately behind. They move with trained urgency, eyes instantly tracking from the screaming alarms to the disconnected oxygen supply. "Who disconnected this?" Dr. Walker demands, reconnecting the life support while Jolene adjusts Micah's oxygen mask. Silence. "Who unplugged this equipment?" she repeats, her voice cutting like steel. Father adjusts his necktie. How could I have known that outlet was critical? I needed to charge my phone. The room becomes motionless. Even the monitors seem to pause in shock. You disconnected clearly marked life support for a phone charger. Jolene's voice quivers with restrained rage. Dr. Walker wastes no time on conversation. Her hands move in practiced coordination over Micah's tiny form, adjusting flow rates and monitoring vital signs. Jolene assists wordlessly, their teamwork a choreographed response to crisis. Endless, terrifying minutes pass. My heart threatens to burst from my chest. Grant's hand finds mine, squeezing with crushing force, yet I feel nothing except desperate prayers for my son's survival. Finally, the primary alarm ceases. Secondary alerts quiet moments later. Dr. Walker's shoulders lower slightly, the first indication that immediate peril has passed. He's stabilizing, she announces, eyes still fixed on the monitors, but his oxygen levels dropped to dangerous levels. She turns to confront my family, professional composure intact despite fury burning in her eyes. He's lost at least 4 days of progress. A few more seconds without oxygen could have been devastating. You're being dramatic, Father responds, reaching for his phone. These devices have built-in safety systems. Dr. Walker blocks his movement. I'm contacting security. That's entirely uncalled for. Mother interjects. It was a simple error. Wesley serves on Horizon Health Group's board. He comprehends medical equipment. Then he should understand the gravity of what just occurred. Dr. Walker responded by pressing the security button. Within minutes, 2 security officers arrived. After a brief explanation, they escorted my family firmly toward the exit. Father protested loudly about misunderstandings and overreactions. Mother kept looking back at me expectantly, waiting for me to defend them. Trent remained silent until they reached the doorway. Then he turned, his face tight with anger. Thanks for ruining my interview day. As I watched security lead my family away, I felt torn between lifelong conditioning and new maternal instincts. The hospital administrator had suggested pressing charges for endangering Micah. But what would that mean? Would seeking justice against my own family make me as heartless as they had been? Or was protecting Micah more important than maintaining toxic relationships that had nearly cost him his life today? The answer lay in the steady beeping of Micah's monitor, in his tiny chest rising and falling with each precious breath. Now that he was stable, my resolve strengthened. No one would hurt him again. Later that day at the hospital, my phone buzzed against the plastic table for the 6th time. I reached for it, fingers trembling slightly, then pulled back. The voicemail count had reached double digits. Pamela Whitlow, my mother, refused to accept defeat. When I finally listened, her voice filled my ear with practiced indignation. Lena, this is getting ridiculous. It was just an innocent mistake. You need to stop the hospital from blowing this out of proportion before someone gets fired. The message cut off, only to be replaced by another. Call me back immediately. I deleted them all. But the texts proved harder to ignore. Aunt Susan. Family should forgive family. Uncle Richard. Think about what this will do to your parents. Cousin Beth. Nobody meant any harm. Why tear the family apart over an accident? My phone chimed with an email notification from Wesley Whitlow, hospital administrator, Horizon Health Group. The subject line read concerning recent events. The message was brief and clinical, as if dictated to a secretary rather than written to a daughter. Lena, my position at Horizon Health Group affords me certain connections within the healthcare community. Those connections extend to St. Laura. Consider how your current actions might impact not only family relations, but potentially Micah's ongoing care. This situation can be resolved privately. Wesley Whitlow Moore. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Not a single inquiry about Micah's condition. Not one question about his recovery from the oxygen deprivation. Just thinly veiled threats. The final message arrived that evening while I sat beside Micah's incubator. His oxygen mask looked enormous against his tiny face. My mother's voice cracked with what might have been genuine tears. Your father could lose his job over this. Is that what you want? For your spite to destroy our family? I placed the phone face down on the chair beside me and watched my son's chest rise and fall. Rise and fall. The hospital's fluorescent lights cast shadows across Micah's face as his little body worked twice as hard as before. His oxygen levels hovered at 87%, better than yesterday's 82%, but nowhere near the stable 94% we'd achieved before Wesley unplugged his support system. The setback was written in the numbers on the monitor, in the additional wires now attached to my son's translucent skin, in the concerned glances nurses exchanged when they thought I wasn't watching. At midnight, I dragged myself back to the Ronald McDonald house, checking my phone hourly for updates from the night shift nurse. Sleep came in scattered moments between alarm settings. Grant arrived at dawn, the shadows beneath his eyes telling their own story of double shifts and overtime. His uniform bore a coffee stain from yesterday, evidence he'd gone straight from work to a second job. "Any change?" he asked, lowering himself into the chair beside me. They increased his oxygen support again. "The doctor says it might be another week before we're back where we were." Grant nodded, too exhausted for words. His calloused hand found mine, squeezing gently. Every time the NICU door opened, my heart stuttered. Every approaching footstep near Micah's incubator sent adrenaline coursing through my veins. I found myself scanning faces, assessing intentions, watching hands. The hospital, once a place of hope, now felt like territory I must guard. "Mrs. Whitlow?" I turned to find Dr. Walker standing beside me with 2 paper cups of coffee the next morning. The rich aroma cut through the antiseptic hospital smell. "Thought you could use this," she said, offering me one. "Thank you." The warmth seeped into my palms. Dr. Walker settled into the chair beside mine, her white coat wrinkled from what must have been a long shift. She watched Micah's monitors for a moment before speaking. "He gained 2 ounces overnight." "Really?" I leaned forward, studying the numbers as if they might explain the small victory. "Really?" She smiled. "He's a fighter, just like his mom." For the first time in days, something besides fear fluttered in my chest. Hope. Later, I found myself in the hospital chapel. Not to pray, I hadn't done that since childhood, but because it was the one place my phone didn't ring. Stained glass cast colored patterns across the empty pews, painting the world in reds, blues, and golds. The door opened behind me. Grant slid into the pew, his shoulder pressing against mine. "Your father called me at work," he said after a moment. "Offered to cover all of Micah's medical expenses if we drop everything." "And you said?" "Nothing." I hung up. Grant turned to face me fully. "Lena, this isn't about family anymore. This is about protecting our son." A sob rose in my throat, unexpected and raw. "They're making me choose," I whispered. Grant's voice was gentle but firm. "They made the choice when they put phone charging above our son's oxygen." In that moment, I realized my responsibility wasn't to my parents, but to the child who depended entirely on me, who couldn't speak for himself, who trusted me completely to keep him safe. "Elliot Barnes," I said, pulling out my phone. "Your friend from college? He's a malpractice attorney now, right?" Grant nodded, something like pride flickering across his exhausted face. I dialed the number, and with each ring, the weight on my shoulders lightened incrementally. When a voice answered, my own sounded stronger than it had in days. "Elliot, this is Lena Whitlow. I need your help." That afternoon, Nurse Jolene stayed 3 hours past her shift, meticulously documenting Micah's recovery timeline. "You'll need this for the case," she said, her voice steady. Time-stamped evidence of the setback. Dr. Walker provided detailed medical reports, complete with before and after comparisons of Micah's respiratory function. "The data speaks for itself," she said, sliding the folder across the table. The head of hospital security stopped by with a flash drive. "Surveillance footage," he explained, "shows Mr. Whitlow ignoring 3 separate warning signs before unplugging the outlet. Judge will want to see this." I gathered these pieces, building a fortress of facts around my son. In Elliot's office the next morning, legal terms replaced medical ones. He spoke of Colorado Penal Code Section 18-6-401, reckless endangerment of a minor, negligence, willful disregard of evidence and testimony. "This is textbook," he said. "Your father knowingly created a situation that endangered Micah's life. The surveillance footage makes that clear." I nodded, organizing the documents chronologically as he spoke. A business card fell from the stack, Trent's, with his Georgetown Law School email printed beneath his name in elegant font. My hands, which had trembled uncontrollably when Micah was born, were perfectly steady as I opened my laptop and began composing an email to Georgetown's Ethics Committee.
My son was my priority. Everyone needed to understand that.
I felt my resolve strengthen as I organized the stack of documents on Elliot's glass conference table. The pile told Micah's story in cold, clinical terms, medical reports, incident forms, witness statements, all chronicling those terrifying moments when my father unplugged my son's oxygen. "We need to be methodical," Elliot said, spreading the papers into neat columns. His tie hung slightly loose, the only sign that he'd been working late on our case. "The security footage is particularly compelling." Grant nodded beside me, his jaw set in a way I'd rarely seen. "Will it be enough?" I asked. "More than enough for criminal charges," Elliot replied, selecting a form with blue tabs already attached. "Reckless endangerment of a minor. Tampering with medical equipment. Both serious offenses." "What happens next?" I asked, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "Your father's response will determine a lot," Elliot explained, clicking his pen with practiced precision. "He might try to settle quietly, or he might fight. Either way, we're prepared." The formal charges felt weighty in my hands when I signed them, not with the familiar shakiness that had defined me since Micah's birth, but with the calm precision of someone who finally understood her purpose. Later that afternoon, my phone lit up with an unknown number. "This is District Attorney Jackson, Mrs. Whitlow. I'm calling to let you know we've flagged your case as priority," she said, her voice direct but kind. "What happened to your son shouldn't happen to any child." My father's counterattack began with startling swiftness. Within 48 hours, Wesley Whitlow mobilized every hospital connection he'd cultivated during 20 years in healthcare administration. "Dr. Moore called me," I told Grant that evening while checking my phone for updates from the NICU. Apparently, Dad tried to convince him that this was all a big misunderstanding being blown out of proportion. Grant's laugh held no humor. "What did Moore say?" "That Dad should hire a good lawyer." The calls from my past began next. Stephanie from elementary school. Lisa from high school swim team. Even my college roommate Rachel. All with the same hesitant tone, the same rehearsed message. "Pamela's worried about you, Lena. She says you're not thinking clearly." I blocked each number after politely thanking them for their concern. The local news broke the story on Tuesday morning. Horizon Health Group administrator placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The article didn't name Micah, but it mentioned allegations involving endangerment of a patient. When Nurse Jolene arrived for her shift, she brought the newspaper clipping. "Your father's workplace is conducting their own investigation now," she said, her eyes bright with vindication. "They're reviewing all of his past decisions since learning what happened." As I sat beside Micah's incubator, watching his chest rise and fall with increasing strength, I pondered the settlement offer that had arrived by courier that morning. $500,000 in exchange for my silence and dropping all charges. Financial security for Micah's future versus a public case that might protect other vulnerable patients from similar negligence. The money would solve so many problems. But would justice be better served in the open? 3 days later, an email arrived from Georgetown Law School's Ethics Committee. The formal letterhead and carefully worded acknowledgement of my detailed account regarding Trent Whitlow sent a chill down my spine. "We take such matters extremely seriously," the email stated. "We request copies of the security footage and hospital documentation to support our investigation." I forwarded the email to Elliot, who called within minutes. "I've never seen an ethics committee respond this quickly," he said, surprise evident in his typically measured voice. "They must consider this significant. Will it affect Trent's standing at Georgetown?" I questioned myself, unsure about my feelings regarding this situation. At the very least, the internship opportunities he's been boasting about will be suspended while investigations take place. The effects continue to spread. Dr. Walker mentions that multiple doctors in the medical community have been talking about Wesley's suspension from work. Nurse Jolene hears from another patient that my mother's church group has quietly removed Pamela from their yearly charity lunch planning committee. When Trent's text message comes through, it's filled with intense anger. "Do you realize what you've done to my future career?" all because of a simple electrical outlet. I look at my brother's message for several moments, then place my phone next to Micah's medical incubator. My baby's small fingers instinctively wrap around my little finger, his strength increasing each day. The monitoring equipment shows steady oxygen readings and a strong, consistent heartbeat. I gently touch his delicate cheek with one finger, feeling the warmth of his skin. The response to Trent's question lies here in this peaceful moment between a mother and her child. The child she would destroy everything to keep safe. This was never about an electrical outlet, I whisper to Micah. This was always about protecting you. I will defend my son using every method available to me. The following week at our main family meeting, I feel the plastic chair shift under my weight as Wesley and Pamela Whitlow walk into the Aurora family house common room. Their surprise visit shocks my system. They didn't call beforehand, didn't ask for permission. Just like always, Lena, my mother says, her voice artificially sweet as she moves forward. Her cashmere sweater appears freshly ironed despite the lengthy drive, and her pearl earrings reflect the overhead lighting. We must have a conversation. My father stays behind her, his hands shaking slightly as he holds a leather folder. I've never witnessed his hands tremble before in all my childhood memories. Those hands were always firm, firm when highlighting my mistakes, firm when dismissing my accomplishments that didn't match his standards. You should have contacted us first, I say, surprised by how steady my own voice sounds. We attempted to, Wesley steps forward. You've been avoiding our phone calls, and for valid reasons. Grant appears beside me, providing solid support. He remains silent, simply placing his hand on my shoulder. The weight of it grounds me. We have an offer, my father continues, opening his folder to show a pile of documents. We'll cover all of Micah's medical bills. Everything, past, current, and future treatment. All we're asking is that you withdraw these absurd accusations. My mother's smile becomes forced. It's a very generous proposal, dear. Consider what this could mean for Micah's future. Your brother's future is also at risk, my father adds, his voice dropping to that familiar, commanding tone that used to make me feel small. Georgetown is reviewing his acceptance. His summer internship opportunities are in danger. Is this payback really worth ruining his life? I feel something change within me, not trembling or fear, but a hardening resolve. I reach for my phone and find the most recent picture of Micah, the first since his birth, where no breathing tube covers his small face. His eyes are open, alert, looking directly at the camera. Look at him, I say, holding the phone where both can see. This photo was taken yesterday. He's breathing independently now. My mother glances at the screen briefly, then looks away. That's wonderful, dear. But this was never about money. I continue, standing taller. This was about taking responsibility. Responsibility. My father's voice gets louder. It was an accident, Lena. For heaven's sake, we're family. An accident. The word tastes horrible. The outlet was clearly labeled. Warning signs were posted everywhere. You intentionally unplugged life-saving equipment. You've transformed, my father says, his eyes narrowing as he examines me. You used to be so reasonable, so eager to maintain family harmony. The criticism that would have once destroyed me now bounces off harmlessly. Harmony at any cost isn't real harmony, I tell him. It's giving up. Grant's hand squeezes my shoulder, a quiet show of support. We're finished here, I say. I'll see you in the courtroom. 3 days later, I sit in the back section of the downtown courthouse, observing as District Attorney Jackson addresses Judge Watkins. The projection screen displays security video that I've now watched countless times, my father intentionally unplugging an outlet clearly marked with red tape and numerous warning signs. The defendant's behavior demonstrated reckless disregard for an infant's safety during critical care, Jackson states firmly. The warning signs were clear and explicit. The outlet was obviously designated for life support equipment exclusively. My father sits at the defendant's table, his shoulders slumped in a way I've never witnessed. When the judge refuses his lawyer's request for dismissal, he appears to shrink even further into his expensive clothing. Outside the courthouse, I notice a news van with the Channel 9 logo. A reporter speaks into a microphone facing the camera. Former hospital executive faces potential jail time for endangering premature baby, she reports as we walk by. Wesley Whitlow, who previously worked as chief administrator for Horizon Health Group, faces reckless endangerment charges after allegedly disconnecting critical life support equipment to charge a cellular phone. Grant protects me from the cameras, but I don't feel compelled to hide. Each step feels solid and purposeful. That evening, my phone alerts me to a new message, an email containing Horizon Health Group's official statement. Horizon Health Group is extremely concerned by the behavior of former administrator Wesley Whitlow. These actions contradict our dedication to patient safety and ethical practices. Mr. Whitlow's employment has been terminated immediately. Another email arrives shortly after, forwarded by Trent. The header reads, Georgetown University Law Center Ethics Committee. I review the formal language, reconsidering your admission due to recent circumstances and withdrawing internship offers pending investigation. The consequences spread outward like ripples from stones dropped in still water. The next morning, as Grant and I walk into the NICU, Dr. Walker greets us with a genuine smile. I have wonderful news, she says. Micah is strong enough to transfer from the NICU to transitional care. Really? The word emerges as barely a whisper. She nods, guiding us to the incubator where our son rests. He's reached 4 pounds, she explains, indicating the digital scale nearby. His oxygen levels have remained stable for 48 hours. He's ready for the next phase. I lean over the incubator, amazed by how much he's developed. When my finger touches his palm, his tiny fingers wrap around it with unexpected strength. I feel tears forming, not tears of fear or anxiety, but something entirely different. No one will ever harm you again, I whisper to my son, a promise I now possess the strength to honor. The next 5 years will pass quickly, and we will become even stronger. 5 years later, I watch Micah run across our backyard, his strong legs moving with confidence that still astounds me. The spring sunlight catches his hair, Grant's brown color but with my unruly curls, as he jumps off the bottom step of our deck. Watch me, Mommy. I'm flying. 5 years. Some days it seems impossible that this healthy, laughing 5-year-old came from that fragile, 1 pound, 10-ounce bundle of vulnerability. No oxygen tubes restrict him now. No monitors record each precious heartbeat. Just a boy with his father's smile and endless energy that both exhausts and delights me. Grant catches him mid-jump, spinning him in circles that produce bursts of laughter. Airplane Micah coming in for landing. My camera captures the moment automatically. Another addition to my expanding portfolio. My photography business focuses on NICU graduate portraits. Parents specifically seek me out, having heard my story through hospital networks. The one who understands, they call me, a title I wear with more pride than any diploma. Later that afternoon, I stand before a circle of shocked parents in St. Clara's newly renovated NICU Parent Support Lounge. Their expressions reflect what mine must have looked like 5 years ago, the specific paleness of sleep deprivation combined with constant worry. The day my son was born, I begin, my voice steady. The doctor told me he had a 15% chance of survival without major complications. A woman in the front row suppresses a sob. Her son was born yesterday at 26 weeks. Yesterday, that same son scored his first soccer goal. I continue, showing them the video on my phone. This journey isn't measured in days or weeks. It's measured in breaths gained, ounces added, and moments of connection that seem small but matter enormously. Dr. Walker, now the NICU director, enters the back of the room. She catches my attention and silently mouths, "You're doing great." Lena taught us all about true strength, she adds aloud when I finish speaking. How to fight without breaking, how to bend without surrendering. The parents surround me afterward, desperate for hope made real. I give them my business card, my time, my understanding, the gift no one could offer me when I began this journey. Sunday brings Micah's 5th birthday party. Our small backyard fills with the family we've created. Nurse Jolene, Grandma Joe to Micah, helps him adjust his firefighter hat before he leans toward his cake. Make a wish, sweetheart, she encourages, her hands as steady as they were the first time she helped me hold my son. Dr. Walker and Elliot arrange gifts while sharing hospital news. Grant's parents handle the grill with friendly competition about whose burgers will disappear first. Grant raises his glass after the candles are extinguished. To the family we chose, who chose us in return. Later, after guests have departed and Micah sleeps surrounded by new toys, I open my desk drawer. The newspaper clipping has faded slightly. Former hospital administrator serves 6 months for endangering infant. Wesley's sentence, Pamela's probation and community service. Trent's case becoming a cautionary tale in legal ethics classes. I close the drawer without remorse. Morning arrives with Micah carrying his toy stethoscope, pressing the plastic disc against my chest with exaggerated focus. Beep, beep, beep. All good, Mommy. His questions come unexpectedly as we prepare pancakes. Do I have other grandmas and grandpas somewhere? Like Tommy at school? I choose my words carefully, watching his curious eyes. Some people aren't safe to love us, so we built a family that is safe. He accepts this with a child's straightforward understanding, returning to the important task of choosing chocolate chips. As I watch my son grow stronger daily, I sometimes wonder if there will ever be a time when reconnection with my parents might be possible, or if some bridges, once destroyed, should remain as ashes. Would you attempt to rebuild what was lost, or focus on protecting the precious new life you've created?